Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. From legal practice, entrepreneurship and philanthropy, Adewale Adebayo has jumped into the murky water of Nigerian politics. The lawyer turned politician is the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, for the 2023 elections. Adewale was born in Ondo State after completion of his study at the Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife and the Nigerian Law School in Lagos. He attended law school in the United States of America, where he passed the New York bar examination, having obtained license to practice in Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, California, New York, and federal courts in the United States. Adewale Adebayo began the legal career as a litigation lawyer in Lagos, Nigeria. After 2 years of legal practice, he established his own law firm. Adewale Adebayo and Company is a public affairs commentator who provides advice on national issues at different fora. On the 15th of January 2022, Adewale Adebayo declared his intention to run for the office of the President of Nigeria. He is the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, for the 2023 general election. I am now joined by the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Adewale Adebayo. Thank you for joining us, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
All right. You are a lawyer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. What pushed you into politics?
Well, it's the condition of the country, because those things you describe, lawyer, entrepreneur, and all of that, they're not as important as the duty that one owes as a citizen. And given the situation in our country, where, as Ashebe said in 1981, the leadership is the problem of the country, I think it's right for any Nigerian who has some talent in leadership to step forward and make sure that this country does not suffer for what we have solutions to, does not lag behind when we have all the abundant resources. So it's just to step in the bridge and ensure that the ship of state does not hit the iceberg. That's why I'm on it.
Fantastic. And now that you are in the race, how has it been for you? How will you describe your experience and challenge so far?
Well, it's been revealing. It's a contradiction, a kind of paradox, because the problems are enormous, but the goodwill of Nigerian people is even more. The challenges are big, but the solutions that we are finding shows that the challenges can be overcome with steady hand at the end. I think for me, it's been welcoming. I just came back from Enugu now and went around, spoke to the industry people, spoke to other people in other sector, clergymen and all of that. Shows to me that the ordinary Nigerian still has a lot of hope and they are listening keenly. Many months into the campaign, a lot of people are still openly and genuinely listening to ideas. People have not made up their mind fully, they're still listening. And it's a good thing for our democracy.
All right, in that regard, how would you describe the pulse of the ordinary Nigerian?
Well, I think there is a three-way thing. One, people are beset by problems that don't want to go away. Inflation, joblessness, the latest figures regarding poverty, about 133 million Nigerians out of 200 million being seen to be in poverty, worse than before. Many other indicators, the currency under challenge, security not improving much. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that the people also have hope, especially that the elections are coming. They're having hope that they have an opportunity for a change. I also think that they are looking at us more scientifically now. They are looking at us more like a jury in a trial would want to get evidence. So most of the questions I get nowadays are not about what, it's about how. How? So it shows to me that the Nigerian people are now very critical in terms of trying to be sure that they made the right choice at this time. So there are concerns, there are problems, but there is hope. And there's determination on the part of the people. People feel empowered, especially with the BVA, with other methods that people now believe will improve the elections. They are beginning to believe that they have the power to drive the change.
All right then, so as someone without prior political experience, some analysts are of the view that perhaps you should have started from a lower office to gain experience. How would you react to that?
Well, two things that, one, those people assume that it's about me, that I'm starting a career in politics. So in order for me to kind of succeed, let me look for something to do. It's not about me. It's about the challenge that we have in the country. The office that can solve the problems that I see, where the solutions are, is the presidency. That's where I'm going. Second point is that those who started from a smaller office to get experience ended up getting experience in wrong things. So there are presidents we produce in this country who started as councillor, who started as deputy governor, who climbed up there, and they didn't learn anything good. So it shows to you that when you have a system that is bad, joining it to learn what is bad is not going to help for people who want to make a radical change. The third point is that the challenges that we are identifying, the solutions that we are finding, and the way in which we canvass these issues, even those who have many years of experience in government are not able to match up with that. So I think that it's important for us to understand that in a time where the solution lies outside those who are already there, you need to go outside those who are already there to get people who can bring those solutions. Doing the same thing over and over again, what they're asking us to do, where somebody with great, bright ideas, with vision for the country, now joins politics and loses their talent along the way, slow down their enthusiasm for the country, compromise themselves along the way. We've traveled that road many times. It hasn't helped us. We need to travel a new road now where we make a clean break from the past.
All right, then let's talk about your party, the Social Democratic Party. This party is contesting against strong forces like the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party, and even NNPP. What are your chances?
Well, our chances are with Nigerian people. There's no big party anymore. The issue is not about the size of your party. The issue is about your acceptance by the people of Nigeria. The people of Nigeria accept you. It doesn't matter how small your party is. What's important is that the electorate is big enough, 93 or 90-something million people. If you're able to get majority of them, which is what we're working towards, we win the election. It's not about how small, big our party is. And by the way, the parameters that people use to determine which one is big or small are not parameters that are relevant to the people. They look at how many X this, X that in your party, how much money you are spending, the size of your billboard, and all of that. And those things repel people now. People are more interested in whether you stand for what is right, rather than whether your party has a lot of X this, X that, or you have a lot of money. So I think the analysts need to review that we're at different times now.
All right then, so tell Nigerians, how then does your party intend to win the election? All right then, we take a break now and we will be back with Politics Tonight. Please stay with us. Back to Politics Tonight. I still have as my guest tonight the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Adewale Adebayo. All right, thank you for staying with us, Mr. Adebayo. All right, now you would agree with me that every political party is said to have a strong base. Tell us, where is the strong base of the SDP?
Strong base of the SDP is with the poor, the neglected, the unemployed. Those people who have no voice in the State House. Those people who have no friends who can give them fraudulent payments for subsidy, those people who have no link with those who are stealing 80% of our crude oil, those people who are not part of those who are receiving defense contracts and other largesse, those who are neglected, those who have to struggle to feed their children, those who were shut out of school for 8 months plus, those people who are all over the country, who have their family members serving the armed forces, who have lost lives, and many people like that are the people who are our strong base, and they're all over the country. The idea of having a geography, say it's my turn, or it's the turn of my people, that's not where the new politics is. The new politics is with those who, for whom Chapter 2 of the Constitution has been designed. Those who need those things listed in Chapter 2 of our Constitution. Those who need nutrition, who are suffering poverty of food. Those who need housing. If you look at the habitats all over the country, people are living in squalor and in ghettos all over the country. Those who are denied education, the families of those 13 million plus children who are out of school, those who are struggling every day to just make a living all over the country, those who use the bad roads where you have potholes, bandits, kidnappers, those people are victims of various injustices all over the country. That is where our constituencies are. And those are the people who are talking to us. When we go around, those are the people who thank us and ask us to hang on. Today I was in Enugu and people look at me, maybe they thought I was tired, but I wasn't. But they came to me and said, please, whatever happens, hang on there. We will surprise you positively in the election. So that is where the constituency is for us, and it's all across the country.
So tell us the strategies you have taken to sell yourself to these people you just mentioned.
The strategy is to go to them, to let them know that we know what they are going through. You know, some people will go to regional groupings looking for adoption by elite and older people who are in retirement. We just go to where the people are. The other time I was in Genye, in Adamawa State, with a family of, a whole family that lost majority of their family members in Anambra State some months ago. Nobody in the federal government has ever been there. And you will see that they are hurting. The entire community was surprised that anyone will come to look for them with all the neglect they've suffered. If you look at the victim of floods all over the country, if you look at farmers who have been displaced. So people are not against any political party. Even these political parties that have done very badly in the country, people just want to give everyone a chance. It's just that the big parties, as they call themselves, are too arrogant. They trust in their money, they trust in their so-called structure, and they're not willing to engage the people. So we only have the people, and we are talking to them, and they know that the conversation we're having with them is heartfelt. We're talking to all kinds of leadership in the country to appeal to them to be on the side of the people. We're talking to the business elite too, to let them know that you make more money, not from the misery of the people. You make more money, not from making them abjectly poor, by overcharging them for goods that are essential to their life. You don't become multi-billionaire in a country of abject poverty, that you can allow government to function and allow people to have some living wages, and you will still end up getting more money when they come to buy your products. So we're talking to everyone. We're talking to the elite to know that we're all born equal in this country. And that is why we are being received.
So how many regions have you been to since you became the presidential candidate of the SDP?
Well, there are no regions in Nigeria, but I've been to 36 states, and I'm still going to go back again. And then, by the way, I know each of the 774 local governments in Nigeria. So I go north, I go south, I go west, I go east, I go, all the cardinal points of the geography. And it's a continuous engagement. When I was in Adamawa State the other time, I didn't stop in Yola after the rally. I went as far as Mubi, in the border of Nigeria. I went to the places where people are displaced. I sat in the former headquarters of Boko Haram. I ate food there, and I talked to the people who survived. When Boko Haram was here, occupying this building, where were you? How did you manage? I talked to people. I went down to Numan to see the victim of the flood, to talk to faith leaders and other leaders there. I went around the country. I went to Kenya. I went to many places that people they keep telling me, you are the only presidential candidate we have seen since 1999. So I go to such places.
All right,
it's a rich experience for me.
So having visited the 36 states in Nigeria, what do you think are the basic desires Nigerians need?
They just want a decent government. They just want a compassionate government. They're not asking for the moon. They just want a government that they can call a government, where a government that is peopled by public servants, people who want to serve, who are not after themselves. You know, simple things like potholes. People just want roads to where they are. So they want a simple thing like electricity. They want safety. It's not too much for a farmer to say, I want to go to my farm. I don't want to get killed on the farm. These kind of demands are less than the demands that were made on colonial government when they were in Nigeria. They just want basic things to function, and I don't think it's too hard. It's just the political class has gone too political, very callous, and doesn't even reflect the fact that politics is a gateway to service, and that these services can be rendered. You will see that we've spent more money on our politics than our people are even asking for basic services. I've never met any of the people asking me for grandiose things like that. They ask for basic things. They show me their leaking boats where they are fishing. They show me fishermen with no nets. I went to Bayelsa, people are showing me oil on the water where they fish. They're showing bridges that are broken down. They're showing an absent federal government in many places. So they just want justice. We have a litany of complaints ranging from the First Republic that people have not been addressed on them. You'll be surprised. Ask really, are we self-governing? Are we governing ourselves? Or are we being governed by aliens? So this has enriched my understanding of the patience of the Nigerian people to know that even in spite of these genuine complaints they have all across, they are still peaceful, they are still hopeful, they are still respectful. And if anybody comes to them from the political class, they come out, welcome you, listen. They don't care about the fact that we are living in opulence and they are living in misery. They still hope that God will touch our heart and we will remember them. And they pray for us. So I think that this is what I've learned, that Nigerian people, maybe it's part of the problem that they are modest, they are kind, they are generous to the leadership, but leadership should not take it for granted. Leadership should try to meet the people halfway, lean down, stoop, be at the level of the people, and not be displaying excessive wealth. Flying helicopters into the neighborhood of poor people because you don't want to use their road. You are coming to campaign. Isn't that an insult? You don't want to use the road they are using. You are flying over their head to come and say they should vote for you. This kind of behavior is not proper. So those are the things that we need to address. When you go and campaign in a village that doesn't have public transportation, people are riding bicycle, and you are going in convoys of expensive vehicle, one of which can solve the problem of the community. So these are the things that our people are doing. They're behaving like aliens. I have records of how the colonial masters used to behave, the district officers. They were living close to the people, riding bicycles. They were riding donkeys. They were also close, riding horses. But our own people now are coming like overlords over their own people. I've gone to communities where many of the leading candidates come from. Only their own houses will be livable there. The rest of the community is run down, and no roads to the place. And they go and live in big cities all over the world, saying that they have arrived. This is not fair. You go to primary schools, provincial schools, middle schools, that these politicians who are now in high places attended. You'll be ashamed that people who attended these public schools are now in high places. They are spending billions on election. They are buying airtime. They are doing live coverage. They are just blowing money all over the place. They are shattering aircraft. But the communities where they come from, the primary school that they attended, no help, nothing to give back. This is why our people are asking us to have new politicians, new people who haven't forgotten the people. And I believe and I pray that every political party should look for such people who are close to the people, whose heart is still with the people. So that when we form a government next year, that government will be a kind of government that resembles what SDP has in our manifesto. That's why we are urging Nigerian people to trust in us, to hold steady, and we will give them a government that redefines governance in this country.
You see yourself in that image, the picture you just painted now?
Well, you see that all my life has been a life of compassion. All my life is about service. In my private life, it's not me to talk about it, whether it is to help with scholarships, to employ thousands of people and their families taking refuge under that economic liberation, whether it is helping communities, whether it is in every way. I've done what a citizen can do. I've got Taxpayer of the Year recommendation many times. Even the federal government has given me Employer of the Year more than once. So I've done what I can do in private life. But there's enormous goodwill and there's tremendous resources and use public resources for the people for the first time. Let's run a decent, service-oriented, simple government, which is not about making big men out of government, but making government to go to the people. In many countries of the world, they are accused of having big government, but they don't have big men. Big government means that the government intervenes in the social sector in every way: education, health, housing, employment, benefits, welfare. And when government makes those interventions, they say it's a big government. But in Nigeria today, we're having no government, but big men who have become big, if you trace their entire life, basically because of how many years they've been in government, how many years they've been able to sit on top of people's resources, and we are the same people. We need to be kind to one another, and that is the purpose of the Social Democratic Party's manifesto. That is why we keep emphasizing Chapter 2 of the Constitution. We are the only campaign basing our manifesto on Chapter 2 of the Constitution. We are the one giving hope for the people, who says, farewell to poverty and insecurity, hope again. It is our slogan. But that slogan is founded on making sure that we understand that if we apply public resources in the interest of the public, the government will be good. Anything you do, any idea you have, which does not apply the resources of the people on the needs of the people, that services only the elite, or aggrandizes only the people in government, or forms alliance with people who covet Nigeria's assets and now to come here, either internationally or domestically, to corner all our assets, such people cannot be in government and you have peace and stability. Truth, justice, and peace come in that order. And that is what I have as a mantra in my public life.
All right, let's talk about the manifesto you just mentioned. How practicable are the provisions in it?
Well, I didn't get that question. Can you repeat it?
You talked about your manifesto a while ago, and I'm asking, how practicable are the provisions in it?
They are practicable. They are not only practicable, they are mandatory. What the Constitution has in Chapter 2 is that the money, the resources of the government, including even access to government, should be for every Nigerian. 2, that we should be equitable and fair in the distribution of resources and opportunities, and that we should attend to the social needs of our people, that no Nigerian should suffer from poverty, none should suffer from illiteracy, none should suffer from unemployment or neglect, none should be discriminated against based on the circumstances of their birth, and that the rights of Nigerians include the right to social security and social safety, including safety nets like healthcare, adequate housing, nutrition. So it is practicable. Anybody who believes that it's not practicable should not contest for an elective office and should not accept appointed office, because you have to swear on oath under the Constitution that you would abide by and enforce the provisions of Chapter 2. So for political parties who have been in government since, who say it is not realistic, then they all know to come back because they are telling us that they are going to breach the oath of office. But I believe that where you apply the resources of the people like that, you are not going to make a millionaire of every Nigerian, but you will be able to abolish poverty because the Nigerian economy is large enough and can be larger because of the enormous resources that we have, including our manpower. And the amount of money being wasted because we are not complying with Chapter 2 accounts for the reason why poverty is escalating. So I believe it's practicable, I believe it's necessary, and I believe it's mandatory. And that is why I'm running by it. It's even superior to the Constitution of SDP, is superior to the manifesto of my party. Chapter 2 of the Constitution is the contract between the Nigerian people and the government. It also has obligations for citizens. They must pay taxes, they must obey the law, and they must do everything that they can to contribute to the well-being of the country. That is why we can say, I pledge to Nigeria, my country, because we know that in exchange for that pledge, those in authority will protect us, will preserve us, and nurture us. But what is happening now is abandonment of the people, not because we don't have what it takes, but because the leaders believe that all government money belongs to them. It's about how to compete among themselves, about who can take the most. And then they make a show of it every 4 years when there's election. So they will intimidate the people with their own money. The money that belongs to the people will be taken by a small clique of the elite, and they will use that money to overhaul and intimidate the people and limit their options. We think 2023 is about time for Nigerian people to come together and say, no, we need a new path.
All right, you're one of the youngest candidates jostling to succeed President Buhari in 2023. How will you describe involvement of the youth in the process?
Involvement of the youth in the process is better than before, but it's not enough. I shouldn't even have been the youngest presidential candidate, should have been more, because I've met a lot of Nigerians, home and abroad, that have taken serious responsibility, just like I have taken, who have managed very large wealth and resources on behalf of institutions all over the world. And I believe that they have an understanding of the country, they are competent in terms of modern technology, modern platforms that you can use to leverage and leapfrog into development. Many of them should come. In the Social Democratic Party, I went on headhunting to get young people to run for the Senate, to run for governorships, to run for other legislative offices, to try as much as possible to get them involved in it. So the idea that we are celebrating young people getting PVC is just a minimum. We should do much more than that. We should have, my chief economist is about 27 years old. That is the chief economist that I use. And he's very competent, he's an accomplished author, he understands economics very well. Many of the predictions that we have worked together, where we think the interest rate will be, is where it is heading, where we knew they were forging figures regarding inflation, they are coming out and they are confessing that their figures were not correct, where we thought they would budget, where their deficit will be. All of these things, we are getting it right. It shows to us that just like our leaders in the First Republic, have people like Sam Aloko, I had Aboyade, and so many other economists who were very young at that time, advising them that they got it right. The way it was at that time is what we want to restore now. To have young people, when they have their best talents, they don't just go and waste it making money for themselves, that the country doesn't lose that. When Awolowo became finance minister, he went for Dr. Umoru, a very young Nigerian economist who was working for one oil company. And he said to the oil company, I can't have this brilliant young man here with you. He needs to come and join me. And he became technical advisor. And he worked with Clement Eason. It's one of the reasons why we didn't borrow money to prosecute the Nigerian Civil War. So we have a lot of talent. We should not just celebrate that young people happen to come to a rally or they are marching on the street. No, they must grasp the issue. They must understand. They must think ahead. They must have vision. And I think that is what we are trying to do. It's not like we are trying to rub shoulder with some have-been or incumbent. No, we are trying to say it's our country. We are tired of lamentation. Why should I have youth marching for NSAS. I want to have the youth as Inspector General of Police. I want to have the youth. Isadoko was at the age of 32 or so when he retired as Chief of Air Staff. So I want young people to come into service and to be useful to the country. Use the energy of their youth to serve their country, not just serve themselves. I even regret that I didn't join politics much earlier. I should have joined politics in 1999 because all the accomplishments I made for myself, all the personal problems of myself that I have solved, have not made me a completely successful person because I'm still from Nigeria, a country that is seen as a poverty capital of the world. I still go around and carry my passport and people still ask me questions as to whether people in my country are eating well or not. So I want to have a country. I'd rather be an average, ordinary man in a great Nigeria than to be a big man in a country like Nigeria that's not meeting its potential. We need to get young people to say that it is better for me to be in a country where we work together and raise our GDP than for me to say I bought Mercedes for myself or I bought aircraft for myself or I'm living in a posh house. No, we should take pride in saying we develop the social sector, the entire mass development of our country, and that we should be macro in our outlook, not micro.
All right. SDP is a party with a rich history and pedigree, and this dates back to MK Abiola and the famous June 12, 1993 presidential election. Is this in any way playing out in your favor?
Yeah, it is. It doesn't hurt that we have been consistent for 30 years. We're other than the troublemaking political parties that we have now. So, and we started by saying farewell to poverty. And we won the election on that basis. And at that time, we brought someone, MK Abiola, who had never been a councillor before, or commissioner, or minister, or governor. He's never served in any government capacity. But he was a well-renowned accountant and philanthropist and businessman. So the only difference between him and me is the time and the fact that instead of being an accountant, I'm a lawyer. But so our party has been consistent. Secondly, our manifestos at that time are still valid now. People still remember them, that we were the ones trying to fight poverty. And poverty now has a grandchild called insecurity. And we are now saying farewell to poverty and insecurity. And all over the place, I went to Jigawa State, and I met an old man who was struggling to see me, despite how the security were making it difficult for him. And he told me, well, I was a party agent under Abiola, and while you are running for office now, I've gone around Jigawa State, I've been able to raise enough money, and I was told that he spent over 8 million, even though he's just a farmer. But just by going to people who used to be in SDP and say, SDP is back, let us do what we did last time. So it's been helpful. But we're also aware that there are a lot of people in this generation who never knew what happened 30 years ago. People who are 25 or 28 and all of that. Even people are 30 years old. So we are reminding them that Nigeria has not always been about money politics. Nigeria has not always been about skepticism or apathy. That 30 years ago, Nigerians rallied around without minding religion, without minding ethnicity, without minding any other thing, and they came together, and that it can be done again today. So it's been helpful in that regard. So that is the legacy of the Social Democratic Party, and I'm happy to be part of the rebirth of the party.
All right, so you would agree with me that poverty remains endemic in Nigeria, but as an entrepreneur, how do you think this can be best tackled?
First is to remove the hand of government, because the factory that manufactures poverty is the government. The way our land is, the way all our resources are in this country, this is a country that doesn't want poverty. Everything around us works, except the government. So once you remove the government, I always give people the history of this country, that even before Nigeria was established, if you study all the historical records, the colonials who came, they didn't meet poor people in Nigeria. They made general underdevelopment in terms of infrastructure and all of that, but there were no homeless people, there were no hungry people, people were well fed. If you look at pictures of Nigerians 100 years ago or more, you will see that they were quite muscular, the women were robust and healthy. So the land is able to support us. The problem is that the government came and occupied the whole land, has the Land Use Act, so government control land all over the country. Government control everything under the land. And the allocative efficiency is not there. So what government is doing now is confiscate all our properties, all our natural endowment, and misapplying it to the priority of a few people who are less than 1% of 1%. So they rendered people to go to school, the education is not sound enough, and when they come out of school, they are not giving them job. So people are kind of lost. In communities that are trying to take care of their affairs, there are issues regarding licensing, who has the right to control this and that. So even simple safety, public safety and all of that, initiative has been taken away from the people because the government has a police that doesn't work for the people also. So when you put all of this together, you will discover that it's the government that is responsible. And today I was with NASIMA, National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. And you could see that they are willing to work. But government regulation is affecting it, interest rates is affecting it, inflation is affecting it, high tariffs affecting it, license. Instability of foreign exchange is affecting it, policy inconsistency. When you put all of those together, they all emanate from the government. So as an entrepreneur, I suffer a lot. But I realize that if we can get our government right, get people in government to be people who want to serve, people we have in government now, not just the ruling party now. The ruling party is not even as bad as the party before it that spent 16 years. So I'm letting you know it's not about one party, it's about how we have managed to organize our politics, that it is for big men, people who take ministerial position, to show up their personal profile, not to serve. We send people to places where they don't have talent as a reward for their contribution to an expensive political system. So if we can change that and run government of services and public servants, both the politically appointed one, elected one, and the civil servants, realize that they are just servants, and that if we make it okay for the entire country, it's a general tide that will lift all our boats. But to say that you are on a boat and you want your own side to be lifted and the other side goes down, the boat is going to capsize.
All right.
We should stop producing big men. We should bring big ideas and let Nigerians contribute to the economy of this country.
All right. Now, another major challenge bedeviling the country at the moment is crude oil theft, which is a major economic challenge for Nigeria. What will you suggest as the way out?
Well, what I would suggest, remember I blew the whistle, I'm the one who was talking about it. The way out is the truth. I was embarrassed on behalf of the government when they were denying it. I was embarrassed when they were saying, oh, it's not true and all of that. Later they said I was exaggerating. Later they said, oh, they found the pipeline. And what I'm hearing in the background is that they're even looking for ways to make trouble with me over that, to try to harass me one way or the other. But I'm not the type that gets worried about such things. So, but I didn't do it to embarrass anybody. I did it to say, let us acknowledge it. Because majority of the stolen crude is taken overseas. And the money is kept overseas. Maybe some Nigerian elements will get some cut out of it, but that is daylight robbery of our own heritage. So what we need to do is government that is doing it, and it's in a sector where the president is in charge. There are two components to it. The petroleum sector is under the president. The security sector is under the president. So there's no solution to it other than for the president to make up his mind and tell his boys and girls, people working under him, to say, no, we have to stop this. The government can stop it. I can believe it. The government can stop it. About 10 days ago, I went to Forcados to see by myself, because they were saying they're giving a contract out. They are now discovering the pipeline. So I calculated, okay, Forcados accounts for about half of what we are producing now. So let me go there and see. I went past the station of NNS Saika. I went around our 4 hours on the sea. I'm sorry to say, I haven't seen any improvement. So it's government that can do it. If just because I'm a curious Nigerian, just because I'm running for office, if I could go there on a tour, I have it on video, I don't see any reason why the Chief of Naval Staff will not be there patrolling. I saw the patrol boat a gunboat of NNS Striker, only one gunboat there. I went around, I saw ships with their ballast. You will show you that these people are coming to lift crude. You will see some of them who shows you that they are laden with crude. I don't see any sense of urgency there. I've been talking to some of the people who they say they're given the job to. They are trying their best, but nothing can replace an effective maritime security architecture led by the Nigerian Navy with the full support of the Nigerian government. But as it is now, I'm sorry to say, it appears as if people are more interested in taking their
All right, so
it's not something that is complex. Many people cannot go to as far as where I went. Many people cannot go there. So it's not something that a petty thief can steal. It is something that is can be stolen by those who are in that industry.
Okay, so on a final note, is there any possibility of you stepping down or forming alliance with other parties for the presidential election?
It's not about me. And why will I step down? If I step down, does that step down poverty? If I step down, does that step down insecurity? I'm trying to find solutions. So I will canvass these solutions. I'm doing more research on the problem of Nigeria. I'm learning more from what I'm hearing from people. What I learned in the solid mineral sector is enough to make everybody cry. So it's not only in the crude oil sector. So if I stop running for office, would that stop them from stealing gold in Safara? Would that stop them from stealing lithium from Abuja and Niger State? So it won't stop any of those things. So it's not about me, it's justly for an office. I believe that Nigerian people are the one who will choose a leader in 2023. And I believe that if the media and other sources allow us to penetrate, they're waiting for us to spend billions we don't have to advertise. If they allow everyone to ventilate, Nigerian people will actually make their choice. And whatever choice they make on February 25, I will stand by it.
All right. Thank you very much. Our time is fast spent. Thank you very much, Mr. Adewale Adebayo, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight. All right. Just before we go, let's give you the peak of the day regarding political happenings in the country.
To ensure that we win our elections. Those people who say that politics is at the national level, they are liars and betrayers, and they don't know what they are talking about. All politics is local. You do your local politics here, and that is what we stand for. So the PDP is very committed. I am committed to the PDP in Benue State, but at the national level we have problems.
And that marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Join us for the repeat episode at midnight and tomorrow for another edition of Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Goodbye.